Hi. I want to live in a better world. I really do. And I've noticed one of the things that could make the world a whole lot better is if people thought more. I mean, not just thinking about global warming and going to work, how you're going to spend your money, all that kind of stuff. Everybody thinks about that. No, I'm talking about that thinking of looking at things from a point of view that isn't based on you. Like when you see somebody struggling, trying to see things from their point of view. Now, I'm not saying you got to see it from the junkie's point of view. I'm saying, feel bad for the junkie to a degree, a drug addict. They have a sickness. Don't just condemn them. Think about it. Think about what has happened in their life to bring them to that point. Think about how to help your friends, how to raise your kids not to be an addict. Figure out what makes that person tick. Just like think about it. And if you're upset about immigrants flooding into your country, think about things from their perspective as if I was born where they were born, what would I do? And I'm not saying that you have to completely take their side. You're allowed to think whatever you want to, but people need to really put thought into it. Don't just rehash what your dad said or what your best friend says or what your president or king or congressman says. Think about how you feel about that. Like, how does that affect you? Because there's a lot of people that are really into getting involved in shit that doesn't even involve them. It's not a part of their life. It does not affect them, you know. But instead of just always coming from your perspective, pull your head out of your ass and at least contemplate other aspects of something. Do research, like solid research on something so that you can speak about it intelligently. It's kind of like the whole don't believe the words in the Bible because the preacher says. Believe it because you believe it. Actually take the time to think about it. And this not only goes into the whole saying, think about stuff. In one of my other videos, I talked about when you've got a mental illness, you have these gnats in your head, negative automatic thoughts. Well, one of the ways to combat negative automatic thoughts is to say, what evidence is there against that? And, like saying, I can't do anything. Well, you did this, you did that. What evidence is there against it? Who would disagree with that thought? And it's that way about other people's perspectives. Just don't always look at it from one direction. Just say, what has happened? And this also goes with yourself. Like a lot of times people don't think, so they get into arguments. Like they hear something, somebody says something, and it can be a completely innocuous comment. And one person hears it and it's offensive. Well, they've just automatically went to bat with, that's offensive. Everybody else understands. Everybody else gets that the speaker didn't mean to be offensive, but this person maybe didn't. Or maybe it's flipped around. Maybe only one person gets the spirit in which the person said what they were saying, and everybody else is offended. Think, you know, like it takes 2 seconds to say, what do you mean by that? Instead of just blowing up because you think that they said what you think they said. You think that they said something that they shouldn't have said, and people just don't think. And I mean, I know it's hard. Like, if you dislike somebody, you want to hate them. You want them to say stuff that pisses you off. It's kind of what you feel like you need. But as people, if people thought more and communicated better, then a lot of things could be fixed. A lot of misunderstandings could be avoided or cut off at the pass if we just thought more, you know? And people just don't think. It just kills me that people don't think, that people will not put themselves in somebody else's shoes. I don't like addicts. I'll admit that. I do not like addicts. And I'm not going to let them mosey on in my house and leave them alone. By no means. But I get where they're coming from. I get that it's a struggle. I've thought about it. I've taken the time to do the research on addiction. So I know that, yes, they have control over whether they steal or not. They can control that. They can choose not to. But I know how I feel when I'm broke and I really, really, really need to go shopping. I know the lengths I'm willing to go to get some money to go do that, or to find some money to go do that, or to justify spending money I shouldn't. That's the same way a drug addict's mind works, is that, that they'll justify everything that they do. So anything that they do, yes, they're liable for it. Never get me wrong, that I'm not going to say that they're not criminals and that they're not going to do bad things. But I can feel sorry for them, because I know that it's an addiction. And yes, they are the person who decided to try the drug in the first place. They lit that pipe, or just like with smoking cigarettes, you lit your cigarette, you bought the pack, that's on you. You started it, you're still doing it. It's all on you. Yes, no doubt. Everything that happens to you is, well, not everything that happens to you, but that kind of stuff, it's all you. Doesn't mean that I can't feel sorry for the fact that you're on that path. Doesn't mean that I can't think about it and say, whew, I'm glad that's not me, And doesn't mean that, but it does mean that since I've thought about it, it means that I'm not going to treat them like their addiction is a choice, like choosing not to go work out, or choosing to make a cake slice bigger or smaller. It's not that simple. An addict can't do just a little bit, just a teeny bit. No, they're an addict. And it's not a choice of, yeah, they can have small victories, just like a person with anxiety. You have good days and bad days. That happens, yes. I'm not going to treat a person like crap because that's their bad day, because I understand their issue. I understand the immigration issue. Shit sucks in other places. But honestly, like, America, I wouldn't really want to immigrate here. If I was in Guatemala, I'd be trying to sneak into England or France or Spain or Canada. Not America. Not really. But I understand wanting to have things, simple things, food, clothing, shelter, so you can feed and clothe your family, so that you can spend time with them, so you're not breaking your back for things. My dad busted his ass every day at work. The man, as he got older, his hands hurt so bad he couldn't really hold much of anything. He was always in pain because he would do this back-breaking work. And I know a lot of people like that. I mean, most of the guys I know can't make it to 30 without having some kind of back injury that makes it to where they can't lift a whole bunch of shit or they pay for it. You know, I don't know any man over 30 who didn't fuck up his back at some point in time because you got to work hard. Well, here we got it easy. You know, and I see all this, and like I said, you got to think about those things. I'm not saying that you have to think about it to the point where you see it my way. No. Just think about what advice you can give that young man who's come here illegally when he gets back home after he's deported or whatever, you know. Just think about his struggle and how good you've got it and what you would do if you were in his place. You know, and if you say, well, I'd work my ass off and I'd get here legally. Okay. You thought about it. And more than just, you know, just saying, well, I don't care. I've got a friend that just says, well, if they wanted to live here, they shouldn't have been born there. And I was like, okay. Pretty sure if you could choose where you were born, nobody would live in a lot of the countries where people are trying to get out of. I'm pretty sure. And I was like, no, that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know I for one cannot just wake up, like, I can't just in the morning say, I'm moving to Canada. I don't have the money for it. I don't. It would cost me too much money just to go to Canada. And then I'm supposed to go there and I don't have any family there. I don't have any friends there. You know, and then you got to start thinking about your resume. And of course, you know, you don't, you know, you think, well, do I want to go to Montreal or Quebec? You know, and if I go to Quebec, I do read French, but I don't really speak it or understand it very well because people speak fast, you know. And then of course it's Canadian French, you know, so there's a lot of little this and that with that. And then it's like, but then it's cold up there, you know. And then it's like, well, what kind of paperwork do I have to get in there? You know, there's a lot of stuff I'd have to do to go. And if I wanted to stay, I don't even want to think about the astronomical amount of paperwork and money it would cost to do that. And if I was making, well, hell, our minimum wage is crap. Just on what I can make minimum wage, it'd take me forever to save up the money to do the big move. Because, you know, you need quite a few grand. And do you realize I mean, even in America, saving that kind of money on minimum wage and living, having a car and automobile insurance and all that crap, it take you quite a few years. And some people just don't want to wait that long. And I think that every American on the planet, or everybody in the first world, understands not wanting to wait. Not wanting to work hard for 4, 5, 6 years, maybe even 10 years to do something. No, I want to do it now. We are a very right now country. And most of the first world countries, everybody's like, I want to do it right now. I don't want to save up for 10 years. You know, we don't think in terms of decades of, in 10 years, I'll have this. Most of us, even a 5-year plan just seems kind of, unless we're looking at getting something silly, but all I ask is that more people think. Just think, and don't always jump to the wrong conclusion about things. Think. Maybe ask questions instead of just assuming, because you know what they say: when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Thank you. Have a good night.